Hello to everyone. My name is Dr. Ethel Asante Entry. Sometimes you will also see Dr. Ethel Yiranbon. Um, those are all my names. So wherever you see them, do not be confused. So this is the Sociology of Technology class. And today we are looking at our first chapter, which is titled Technological Society. The objectives of the class is to understand the challenges in defining and studying technology. We'll want to look at the historical definitions of technology and their strengths and limitations. We'll also look at the complexity of defining technology as not merely material substance, but rather as a complex assemblage. And then finally, we would look at the contemporary perspective of technology that blurs the boundaries of machine and human elements. But briefly, we would like to look at what sociology is. Of course, that's the name of the course is Sociology of Technology. And so you might want to know, what is the sociology thing? So briefly, sociology is actually a discipline, and it is a scientific study of society. Okay, so just like psychologists will study the brain, the thinking pattern of individuals, we are interested in society. Anything that has to do with society, that's what we are interested in, and that includes patterns of society, behavior in society, how people behave, why they behave the way they do. That is for the sociologists to investigate, and the interaction that happen in society, culture, the way people live. It's all things that the sociologist is very much interested in. And so when we say sociology of technology, we are basically looking at the interaction between society and technology. Okay, because obviously technology does not operate in a vacuum. It doesn't operate in the air. It is in the society. It is society that uses technology. So it is very important that we study this kind of interaction. It hasn't had a much attention for some time, until quite recently, relatively recent. And so this course is to equip us with that kind of knowledge, to pay attention to these interactions. Yes, so this chapter actually is all about what technology is. And like we said, one of the objectives is to look at the complex nature of defining technology. It hasn't been a simple definition. It has evolved over time, and that's what we are looking at generally. And so it is very easy to dismiss how woven technology is into our everyday lives. We can all attest to that fact that even though technology has become part and parcel of us, it is very easy to forget it. Okay, it's just like, you know, I know that when I was in the university, my first degree at Legon, um, I didn't have a phone. I remember how I traveled all the way from my village in the Upper East region to Accra without a phone. I had to wear a kind of dress to be identified by the person who was coming to pick me up. Okay. And so it was until somewhere in level 300 that I got a phone. So you can imagine how life was. And I'm sure that these days you sit down and think back, how were people living without phone? Of course, before I came, there was, I think later somewhere, my dad got a landline. but mobile phones were something else. We couldn't imagine how that was even working. Okay, so if I mean, so you just need to look at those two periods and imagine how far we have come to the point that today there's no way somebody will live without a phone. In fact, these days we are buying phones for 2-year-old, if they can pick it, 3-year-old, 5-year-old children. Even they don't roam with it, but they have it at home because of the situation at stake, so that when you move out of the house, you can call. But I could dare not imagine what a phone was at that age. So today we have phones and all kinds of gadgets becoming part and parcel of our lives, to the degree that now we feel like it's a normal thing to have them. Okay, so it is until when we do not have them that we begin to realize that in fact they play a certain role, a certain significant role in our lives and in our societies. So you can imagine just not phones, there are all sorts of um, technologies that you can think of. Okay, the blender, when you get into some people's kitchen, from washing the dishes to whatever they want to do, it takes a machine. Okay, and so that is how much technology has come to influence our society. So long as technology works smoothly, it remains part of what keeps society functioning. So we just keep going until we don't have it. I remember recently when my blender got spoiled. It was then I realized that the blender meant something. It had some value. Until then, it was just normal to come and have my blender and quickly blend something. When it got spoiled, then I remembered that far back, some years back, we didn't have a blender. All we had was a stone that we would grind tomatoes on. When we had to cook food for Christmas, we'd take it to the market to blend. It was a public blender. You blend and you pay. Okay. But today, here we are. We can do this within seconds in our home. Okay, so that is what technology is to us. So it is when it fails that we begin to realize it is actually some other actor, a non-human actor in a complex web of relation. Okay, that I mean, the appearance of machines brings in all sorts of what relations, all sorts of change. So the focus on the interrelation of society, ethics, and technology began in the 1850s. Okay, this is when um, someone began to pay attention to the interrelation of society, the ethics of technology. I mean, the society, ethics, and technology. Someone began to see that there was some some element of these going on. Okay. And that was because Marx was paying attention to inequality. Okay. Well, he began to realize that, oh, it looks like, you these days we are not all equal. And there is a factor, there is an element that is causing that, which is what? Technology. Because so long as technology steps in, it begins to play a certain role of placing people at different levels. People begin to see each other differently depending on what kind of technologies they have access to. Okay, so today it's not different. I will not take you too much far back, of course. It started with very basic technologies to the extent of, let's say, even farming. Okay, we'll look into detail of the history of all of these, but just to make a point, that's where technology began. Okay, and so when you had access to a tractor, for instance, or a bigger machine to be able to cultivate much. So you can imagine that obviously you will not be the same as the guy who just uses a cutlass or a hoe to farm. The tractor guy is going to be able to cultivate more. And so long as he's able to cultivate more, then he's able to acquire more. And for then he he begins to um, take a certain position of a better, for want of a better word, a status. His status changes because of the access of technology. Okay, so interest in how machines affected labor. According to the Marxists, machines brought about the scaling. Of course, things that human beings could do, they brought in machines to do them. You couldn't form them though, they needed to expand. And so machines came in. That was when people began to innovate, bring in machines to get things done faster and all of that. And that became some sort of a problem in society, you can call it so. Um, so focus drifted to how technology brought about social change, described as Technological Society by Hello, 1964. Okay, so he looked at the interrelationship of the three, that is the society, ethics, and technology. Okay, looking at the fact that, these technologies began to play a certain role that changed society, like I have explained before. If you had that kind of machine that you brought in and you had to throw away a worker who, you had to pay, who would weed for you to pay, for you to pay him. This is someone who has to feed his family. So the issues of ethics comes in, whether it's okay to just sack somebody from the workplace just because you are introducing a machine. And these things are happening today. I am just using the very basic explanation, but these are the things that are happening. There are ethical issues when it comes to the use of technology. Even for your phone, you use your phone to make calls. That's the primary goal. But then when you are able to use your phone to record, we hear stories of people recording their private times, and then one decides to use it to blackmail the other or to disgrace the other. These days, we are told that it's actually criminal. Okay. And so, just that phone coming in handy, being mobile, easy to use, becomes a tool to do all sorts of things. And trust me, you can have people dying out of that. Okay, so this is how we are beginning to think with the introduction of technology in society. Ethical issues come in. So some people argue that technology intersects with society. How technology intersects with society is the neutrality of technology arguments. Okay, some people have that argument that technology is neutral. And the supporters of this perspective argue that technology is impartial because, unlike humans, it lacks a set of moral values and direction. Okay, so it's saying that technology, you can say, does not have feelings. It just comes in. Take a knife. Okay, the knife is there, and whatever you want to use it for, you can use it. If you want to use it to kill, you kill. You can use it to also slice some tomatoes and make salad. People say, okay, but it's the same technology, and that's the neutral role that people say that it does. The development of AK-47 is a source of sorrow, death, and never-ending wars. That's what some people think. Okay, and whatever some people might use it to defend themselves against bad people, but some other people might also use it to just kill. So those are the arguments with the introduction of technology. So when we look at the historical definitions of technology, okay, defining technology presents a common challenge in that scholars have proposed many different definitions. Today we are looking at 5 of those definitions, different perspectives. Socio-technical perspective, the study of how social factors affect technological and scientific development. So we have the 5 definitions, historical definitions of technology, beginning from material substance, knowledge, practice, technique, and society. We want to look at these in detail. So, technology defined as a material substance is the first one. And until recently, research on technology was carried out almost exclusively by technical or applied science fields, of course. It wasn't something that the social scientists or the humanities were paying attention to until recently, when technology is primarily seen as consisting of technical components treated as a physical entity, autonomous from its effects on society. It is referred to as material substance. That is according to Fiest et al. Whenever you see et al, it means Fiest and others. Maybe there are more than 3 or 4 authors. So, yes, so according to them, technology is seen as a material substance. That's how it began. They just saw it as technical components, just some tool, okay, that is not associated to society, just a tool standing on its own. Its definition did not include the effects of society or vice versa. The material substance perspective limits our ability to fully understand the social change and impact technology has on society, obviously. And then there was another definition that looked at technology as knowledge. This school of thought views technology metaphorically as knowledge. When we talk about metaphorical, okay, you make the object or you try to compare 2 things, making it as though it is it is actually that your comparison. So for instance, if I say you are a lion, I am not saying that you are like a lion, I'm saying you are a lion. Okay. And in that case, I'm saying that when I see you, I see a lion. When I see a lion, I see you. Okay. So you become one with the lion. You are the lion. Okay. And it's different from when I say you are like a lion. That's a simile. Forgive me. Yeah. So this is another definition. And technology is based upon what it's based upon, it utilizes and generates a complex body of knowledge, part of which may reasonably be called specifically technological knowledge, according to McGinn. Technological knowledge is focused on the ability to create, to utilize, or transform objects with the aim of facilitating certain activities or achieving specific goals. How technological knowledge differs from scientific knowledge, okay, in the sense that the former means technological knowledge can be applied to the design and building of artifacts, but directly linked to practical application. The latter, on the other hand, is abstract and consists of our understanding of the natural world. Okay, so they're saying that their technological knowledge is different from scientific knowledge. In other words, technological knowledge is what that knowledge that is applied to design an artifact, to design that object that we can use to simplify our lives. But then scientific knowledge, they're saying, is the knowing of something, the things we know concerning the natural world, the things we know about sickness and all of that, it's in our mind, not transformed into an artifact. Those are two different. So, in contrast to scientific knowledge, technological knowledge stems from human activity, often in relation to an artifact. That's the difference. So, in technological knowledge, there is an artifact. In scientific knowledge, it's just knowledge, no artifact. That's the difference. So artifacts are objects that have been modified, modeled, or produced according to a set of humanly imposed attributes. Example, tools, weapons, ornaments, utensils, and buildings. Okay, so you realize that all these are things that humans have designed, okay, to make their lives easier. We are from living in caves to building and designing complex buildings to live in and to achieve all sorts of results. So that's what we're talking about. Now, there's a limitation with the definition of technology as knowledge, metaphorically as knowledge. The limitation here is that it does not consider that the knowledge required to create, utilize, and transform objects is a different entity than the object itself. Okay, so even though there is that two different distinctions of scientific knowledge and technological knowledge, this definition um, doesn't fall into that. It separates the two and makes it look as though it stands on its own. So it disregards the impact that technology has on society by limiting technology to expertise, skill, and understanding. Layton's model of technology attempts to counter these limitations by asserting that technology is not a single entity, but rather it embodies three main entities. So someone tries to melt down the first definition, and he says that it embodies ideas, design, and technique. And ideas are referred to the thought process that precedes the tool. Okay, he tries to modify the definition a bit. And then he says that there is a design that is that which mediates the gap between abstract ideas and the object. So before you actually design the object, you must have perceived it in your mind. You must have perceived it in your mind. And that perception is what you then eventually put into action and create an artifact. That's a technique describes actual artifact or technology. So this is, let's say, a stop in an attempt to mild the metaphorical definition of technology as knowledge. Here, it's saying that technology is not a single entity, but rather embodies three entities. The advantages of Layton's definition goes beyond just the consideration of the artifacts. The model creates a link between how we visualize technologies and their actual realization. So that's the element it brings in, which is an advantage. The disadvantage here is that no explanation of how technology and technological knowledge are linked to society. Okay, so you still see technology standing on its own, not directly linked to society. And that's a limitation. That fact is isolated from culture, economics, and power. Okay. In this definition, we do not see those elements being added to it, even though that should be the case. And the third is when technology was seen as technology as practice. Technology is seen as more than just a set of artifacts. So they move from seeing it as just an artifact, okay, and then began to refer to it as a system, which involves organization, procedures, symbols, new words, and a mindset. And I believe that you, IT students, will understand this better before you arrive at an artifact, the things that it goes through. the, the this school of thought kind of puts it or calls it a system. Talking about organization, you have to have some elements of organization, procedures, samples, new words, and the mindset. This is by Ursula Franklin. Okay, and here he sees technology as complex practices embedded in everyday activities of humans. Okay, and Franklin in his he is more pessimistic. Okay, and in his pessimistic view, he criticizes society's simplistic view of technology, which is that people create problems and are predictable, while machines provide solutions and are controllable. Okay, that's how Franklin says that that is how we we have made technology to look like, and he makes it look technology look bad. So according to Franklin, technology is always idealized so that the problems that emanate from it are blamed on people, those who designed, produce, and consume it. Okay, so he says that we have made technology, a Superman, because it's as if technology cannot be blamed for anything. It is the people that made it that are to be blamed. Okay, and he also argues that technology that is perceived as being able to liberate its users often ends up enslaving them by creating a dependence on them. Okay, so he says that, you see, so we create this technology thing and we make it look like it is coming to liberate us, but slowly it actually enslaves us. That sounds actually like colonization, right? We say that now we are in neo-colonialism. Okay, they came as though they were coming to save us, and then they ended up what colonizing us. And these days they say that they do it in a very stylish way. Okay, and so that is how Franklin makes technology look like. The strength of Franklin's approach is that she emphasizes how technology becomes normalized with society over time. Okay, she's talking about how technology gradually comes to save us and then takes over our life. Okay, and that we can all attest to. Some of us cannot even sleep without our phones. We actually sleep holding our phones. Sometimes someone else has to come and put that off. We before we open our eyes in the morning, we're looking for our phones. I do that sometimes, but I try to always use it for my morning devotion. That's some kind of discipline I'm trying to instill on myself. But technology, especially our phones, have come to take over our lives. And also, he said that we take them for granted and we no longer question our routine. That's how Franklin sees the role of technology in society. Now, the limitation of his approach or her approach is that technology is analyzed primarily as a negative force. Okay, it's as though she is emphasizing on the negative of society. This viewpoint asserts that it is technology that determines how social change occurs in society and neglects to examine human agency. It's as though, she is removing the role that society plays in whatever bad that comes out of technology. Okay, because we all attest to the fact that, I mean, it is what you use it for that matters. Technology does not use itself, So that aspect is what brings, that is quite debatable actually. And then the fourth definition sees technology as a technique. An attempt is made to identify the essence of technology by distinguishing between technology and technique. So, Heidegger describes technique as a human activity, further divided into goal and mechanism. and he calls the goal what humans want to achieve with the technique. And the mechanism is um, provides the means to realize the goal. Mechanism is what provides the means to realize the goal. Now, Habermas describes technology as a strategic action meant to provide a means for the realization of human goals. It is not just a tool, but a mechanism through which human needs can be achieved. Okay, so that's how this school of thought also looks at technology as one that gives humans the ability to achieve a goal. The strength of this argument is that it acknowledges the lasting impact of technology on society. Okay, so they say that society has a goal and it uses technology to achieve that. Technology is examined in relation to human activity. So finally, you would see technology being associated with human activity. Technology is no longer just a tool, it is a mechanism for achieving human needs and one through efficient systems. So eventually, it appears the um, definition of technology is now being drawn um, with the society in mind, with human activity in mind. Limitation here is that it does not elaborate on the mechanisms by which social change occurs. Okay, and it continues to be an agent, a force external to society, even though they see it as something that has a relationship to human activity. It's still external to society. Now, technology is also seen as a society, technology as society, okay, some sort of another metaphorical definition, okay, just like when we looked at it as knowledge. Here, it is seen as society. Technology encompasses knowledge, mechanisms, skills, and apparatus geared towards controlling and transforming society, according to Simpson. And it becomes an agent of change that can control and alter humanity. It not only acts with society, but in a way, it becomes society. That's the key argument. Saying so that it doesn't just act with society, but it becomes society. So society sort of transforms or metamorphoses into technology. And so they become one, inseparable. It does not push things forward or transform the world, it becomes the world. That's according to Baudrillard and Game. So this is another set of argument that makes technology equates technology to society. The limitation here is that it does not allow us to study how technology intersects with society. How? Because it does not separate the two. If society is technology and technology is society, then how do you study the impact of one on the other? Okay, so that's the limitation. Now, making sense of all of these definitions. No single definition can capture the full meaning of a particular concept. All the five we have looked at, all of them seem to have limitations, even though they may have some strength. So no single one of them captures the entire idea. So these definitions alone are rather limiting and do not sufficiently explain how technology links to society. So we're proposing a new definition. Now, what's that? That technology is an assemblage of material objects. An assemblage of material objects embodying and reflecting society. So it is embodied. It sort of envelopes society, and at the same time, it reflects society. Of course, when you look at when we were using what I believe that the first man, I think, made fire out of what? rocks. So from then to today, where there are even machines that you don't need matches to light. My mom in Bolga, they just switch it. I don't know the technology they use. I sort of have an idea, but I do know. So society, you seem to see the complexity of society in the kind of what technology that exists. The world without phones were more simpler than today. The world without social media, the world without aeroplanes, the world without what washing machines. All of these were much simpler, of course. In other cases, made life more cumbersome. Okay, so technology is more of an embodiment and a reflection of society and society elements such as knowledge. Okay, it depicts our knowledge, it depicts our norms and attitudes. So these days it is different. You cannot go outside of the country and for 1 year you haven't spoken to your parents or to your partner or to your friend because there is social media. There are phones everywhere. Gone are the days when people will travel abroad and make videos and bring to your house. I don't know, you guys are so young, so you don't remember that at first when you know, we had landlines only and didn't have mobile phones. When you traveled, not even outside the country, if you just left your town, and there was a friend who had a landline, what you do is that you take the number, when you get to Accra, you call them, and they give you 10 minutes to run to your house, call your mom. She sits there, and in 10 minutes, you have to be there to make the call. And meanwhile, you are at the phone booth. That's how some of us called our parents when we were in school. So that, the norms change. Now my parents and my siblings are on the WhatsApp platform and we can chat every day. We post, we make jokes. It becomes different. The norms change. Okay, the politics change, the culture changes because of the technology that exists today. So this is what Kwan Hay says. In fact, the entire text that we are reading is authored by Kwan Hay. So this is a more complex definition than the ones we have seen previously. So you can also propose your own. Okay, now what the definition we have just looked at by Hayes separates technology from society, one, which is what we've been looking for. It does not include technology as an element of society. It is not just an element, one of the things in society. It views technology as an embodying and reflecting knowledge. Okay, it is not just knowledge; it is an embodiment of knowledge. When you have your own definition, it's good to create it, but just make sure that it has all of those ingredients of complexity. Okay, so another aspect in this chapter is the contemporary discussions of technology. Okay, today, in recent times, the discussion of technology has come to two prominent approaches. And here we show how radically different the notion of technology as an external force is in simulation and augmentation. Material and human start to blur and slowly become distinguishable. Indistinguishable. Yes, so technology either becomes another actor in the social system or is seamlessly integrated with human mind and body. These you will see in simulation and augmentation. Now, what is simulation? Simulation attempts to develop technologies that can imitate the human mind or body. Okay, they make these technologies to imitate the human mind or body. And that is referred to as artificial intelligence as an aspect of simulation, IA. AI, and that's the discipline that started in the late 1940s. And the goal of I keep saying AI is to develop tools that resemble or outperform human intelligence. The debate continues till date, with the general goal being to replicate human faculties, including emotionality. Okay, and Alan Turing, the first to discuss the idea of a thinking machine, that is simulated thinking. He was the first to create a technology with the idea of um, that technology actually simulating the human mind and thinking. And so the Turing test is a test that aimed to test the machine's potential to show intelligent behavior. It aimed to assess a human's ability to differentiate between human and machine intelligence. Okay, so there was this at the US Army, um, where you will see this at the entrance. Now, augmentation, unlike simulation, of course, so simulation, I think these days, an example is like Siri, right? I'm never able to mention it properly. I think when that's on the iPhone, or I don't know whether it's also on the Android phone, you know. So whatever woman she is, she gives you directions, she can show you how to cook and all sorts of things, you know. So she's been planted in these phones to behave like a human being. Whatever programming that has been done, I do not have a technical knowledge of that, but that is typically simulation where the technology is made to behave like a human being, either talk like a human being or think like a human being, or even sometimes outperform the human being actually. In fact, there are some people who think that very soon a lot of jobs will be taken up by robots. Okay, and so you would come to class and it's a robot that is teaching you. You know, so that's how far simulation can go. But that's too scary. I pray those days don't come so that some of us can make money, right? Okay, that was just by the way. So augmentation is the other arm, and this the integration of technology with human body to enhance or strengthen certain capabilities or functions. So unlike simulation that is designed to actually imitate the human being or do what the human being does from head to toe, augmentation is made to be attached to the body to enhance its performance, strengthen its capabilities so that what you could not do, you would now be able to do. So the machine doesn't do everything for you, it only helps you to do them. So this can occur in many different ways, notable through wearable computing. And these days, there are a lot of them. You can give me so many examples. I missed that part where I would have asked you to contribute here to tell me more about these things. But wherever you are, you can have discussions within your groups as to how or some of the examples of these things. You know, so these days we have what an example is a cyborg, a concept, the merging of human and machine through seamless connectivity. And this has now moved from the annals of science fiction into the mainstream. So this is a transformation of, see where from 1980, okay, how the wearable computer was done with, from this 1980 to the late 1990s, where it became something very tiny in a sunglass or in an eyeglass. Sort of all of these gadgets. So it tells you how far technology has evolved. In recent times, the cyber concept has developed into machines geared toward practical goals, example, dealing with medical conditions, hence the prototype C-leg system. Okay, so you can see in the picture someone who has lost his leg giving a sea leg to be able to walk. Of course, this is going to be expensive, you know. So when he's in trouser, he obviously will not see all of this drama, and he would look perfectly like someone who has both legs perfectly. So that is what technology is being used for, and I think it's awesome. I mean, unlike trying to make robots to take our jobs, I think these are rather more healthy ones to make. So there is what we call transhumanism, and I would wish that you would do a private study and find out research into what transhumanism is and why is it controversial. What is your opinion about the merger of human and technological or technology? So there are challenges in studying the interaction between technology and society. And what are the factors that contribute to this challenge? Rapid technological advances, unprecedented social change, direction and type of effect, and then target groups, changing uses also. So technology evolves at a very rapid pace, of course, and that makes it difficult to study. When something is moving very fast, of course, it is difficult to stop it and observe. So that is what we're experiencing with technology. Technology changes. Today is this one, and tomorrow, but before you have looked at it critically and considered its impact and how to even use it, it is something else. So those of us who do not adopt to technology very fast, we will realize that we are unable to pick up before a new one comes, especially those who are chasing after iPhone. Um, what now? I don't know where they have reached iPhone 13 or what, something like that. So before iPhone, you are gathering money and to buy iPhone 12. 13 has come, and then you have to. So that's a typical example. But there are other very other technologies also coming up. You know, I struggle to get to use even Facebook, only for them to say there's something called Snapchat, and Instagram, and there is one Twitter. I have never gone to Twitter. I've heard of TikTok. I watch it on someone's phone, but I don't get it on my own phone. There are too many things I keep saying. And when you don't take your time, you would be fascinated and you'd be overwhelmed by all of these. So, yes, technology moves fast. You know, it moves very fast. The other challenge is that there is unprecedented social change. So, the first one is that technology moves fast, but also society is changing. Okay, so technological change affects many aspects of social, cultural, and economic life. Studying these changes is difficult because it is not easy to capture new forms of behavior with existing frameworks and methodologies. To assess the full impact of technology on society, we need to develop new theories and forms of measurement that complement existing ones. Yeah, so because of the way society itself is evolving very fast, it is difficult to study the interaction of that society with what um, the technology that exists. So it only means that we would have to develop very, very critical methodologies of examining these changes. I mean, And I believe that society is capable, just that we're not there yet. The third challenge is that determining the direction of the effect is problematic because it is difficult to determine the extent to which technology affects society or society affects technology. That's a very, you know, fascinating one. Sometimes it's just difficult to tell which one is actually affecting or yes, affecting the other. You don't know whether it's society that is affecting technology or technology is affecting society. So that makes it quite difficult. It's very arguable and debatable when we bring up that argument as which one influences which one. So according to Bijka et al., there is mutual shaping by the two that is complex and not linear. So he is trying to suggest that there's a mutual shaping. It's like each of us shape the other. Recently, we went to celebrate my dad's birthday, 17th birthday, and it's one of the comments was that they are wondering how my dad and my mom, which one influences the other. And when you look at them, you don't know. And even us in the family, as kids, it's difficult for us to tell when you are being disciplined. You don't know where the idea came from, whether it is mommy who influenced daddy or daddy influenced mommy. It's like they are one, and so that you can call mutual. They influence each other, sort of kind of the same. So like when we say we have a mutual feeling for each other, it means that just as you feel for me, I feel for you. So just as technology impacts on society, society also impacts on another. So that's the school of thought that we will stick to for now until something else comes up. The fourth challenge is that many social changes associated with technology are specific to a particular group. So the particulars of a group have to be examined to understand how that group is appropriating the technology and how the technology has an impact on the group members' lives. That's another um, interesting one where technology does not affect um, all humans the same way. Different groupings, developed country versus underdeveloped, youth versus what the old, middle age versus the old, middle income earners, the healthy and the sick, religious and not religious. All of these have different effects, or they experience different effects of technology. And so at every point in time, you need to study all these different um, impacts of groups, different groups. And that makes it quite complex. Not impossible, but complex. Then there was a changing uses. A single technology often mutates into one serving multiple purposes. So the cell phone is an excellent example. It began as a portable device to communicate independent of location, yet quickly transformed into a more complex tool. So now your um, phone has become your clock and watch. It's become your alarm clock. It becomes your photo album. You no longer buy photo albums. You know, those days when you visit someone and they will bring out all their photo albums for you to look at and laugh and all of that. These days, it's all on the phone. So you don't need to even print them. You know, all sorts of things that you can use the phone for. Intersection of technology and society. So early scholars paid little attention to the social implications of technology, as we mentioned before. So taking a narrow view of technology as an object, does not address the ongoing impact that it has on society. So it is very difficult to actually look at technology in one direction or just an object. Those days are past. It has come to state that there is an interaction between society and technology, and we have to see it as such. Yeah, so Basically, those are the conclusion is that the level of interaction and integration between technology and society continues to grow at a very rapid pace. Okay, and that's for us to study. This shift has altered human existence in ways not imaginable in the not so distant past. It's just mind blowing, how there is that interaction, how society is running so fast with all of this technological and societal changes. So the rationalization, critique, and characterization of technology by those in Generation Z would be especially interesting considering their unique position and dependence upon technology, obviously. So when um, those born between the 1990 and 2010, you know, it's just something to describe them. You know, I took I looked after one of them. Our last one was born in 1996. So he falls under the Z generation. No wonder he's so crazy with iPhone and all of that. You can't believe it that we will buy, send him money to take care of himself in school and he will use it to buy the latest iPhone. That's how crazy it is. Yes, so those are the issues. And so I would leave an assignment on the Moodle platform when it is ready for you to respond. And I think it will be on the Facebook experiment. And so you begin to read. I have given you a snapshot of those the pages from that you can look at and read and be able to answer the questions that will be put up. And please take all assignments of this course very seriously. Right. So until the next video. So this will be on YouTube. I want to urge all of you to subscribe for it so that when the next video comes, you can have it um, seen quickly on your phones and your gadgets so that you can follow the session. Thank you very much. And